Hello everybody and welcome to the 6th video in the Python for Beginners tutorial series. Now today we're going to be covering if, else, and ELIF statements. We're going to jump right in and start with an easy example of an if statement. So we're going to write the keyword if, and then we're simply going to write true for now as a placeholder. Then we are going to give it a colon, and after an indentation we are going to write a small bit of code which is simply going to be a print function that prints the word hello. Alright, so let's look at the syntax of this if function. Here we have the keyword if, and this if checks whether what comes next is true or false. Now in this case I have put in the value true. However, you could also write false. In fact, you could replace this with anything that returns a true or false value. And that is exactly what we covered in our last video on conditions. So make sure you understand conditions. It's going to be important in today's tutorial. There's going to be a link that appears on screen now to the video on conditions, so make sure you watch it, understand it, and come back if you have not yet covered the topic on conditions. So right now we have a true over here, so it checks it if it's true or false, and if what comes after the keyword is true, then it looks at the code that comes after the semicolon and executes it. Now let's go ahead and run this, and you'll see that it does indeed print hello in our console, because the if function sees that we have a true here, so it runs the code. Now let's replace this with a false, and you'll see that it will not output hello in our console. Yeah, over here nothing appears because the if statement, this condition is false. Alright, so it's really important that when you write if statements, you always need to have the right level of indentation. You'll see that if I don't indent this and try to run this, I will have an interpretation error. Now, in Python, indentations matter, right? So you'll have to make sure that when you're using if statements, or more generally when you're using Python, that you always use the right level of indentation. Alright, so let's try and replace the false that we have written over here with another condition, preferably with the ones that we learned in the last tutorial. Let's go ahead and simply write in the following condition: if 1 is smaller than 2, which it is, so it returns a true value, then it should print hello. So it will go ahead and print hello. If, however, we put in a condition that is going to return false, for example, 1 is equal to 2, that is a false statement, it will not print out hello. Okay, so now that we have a basic understanding on how if statements work, we're going to expand on our example by making the condition dependent on a user input. So let's say we have a variable a, and it takes an input that we write into our console, and we are going to ask in the condition whether the input made by the user is equal to the word hello. And if the user input is equal to the word hello, written exactly as it is here, then we want the if statement to print hello. So let's go ahead and run that real quick. And it's waiting for a user input, and I am going to write in hello and press enter. And you'll see that the console prints out the word hello. Okay, so now that we have an understanding of how if statements work, let's talk about else statements, because they're used very frequently in conjunction with if statements. So an else statement allows us to execute code if the preceding conditions were false. So let's try and expand the example we have here and try to write in our first else function. So we're going to write an else and a colon, and then we are going to write in some code, which is print, another print function, and it's going to print out the word goodbye. Goodbye. All right, so let me just quickly go into the syntax again and tell you what's going to happen. When we execute this program, we are going to get asked for user input just like we did before. Now, if we input the word hello, then the variable a, which is going to be the user input, is going to be exactly equal to the word hello over here. So the condition is going to be true, and the code after the colon will be executed, and it's going to say hello. But what happens if we enter an input that does not correspond to the word hello? This statement will be false, and it will go onto the else function and print goodbye. So let's go ahead and run this program, and I'll demonstrate how this works. So now the console is waiting for a user input. We're going to write in hello exactly like we did before, and it is going to print out hello to us. This is because the condition over here is true, because the user input, which is equal to a, is exactly the hello that we have over here. Now let's see what happens if we run this program again and write in anything else other than hello, such as let's say we write bye simply. And now you will see that the else function, the else statement is being executed because the preceding condition was false, right? So it jumps past this false statement, and it jumps past this code, and it goes straight on to the else statement and prints goodbye. One thing you will notice is that if we input anything apart from the word hello as it is written over here, if we input any other string of characters, it will always print out goodbye. Let me demonstrate that real quick. And now we will input some arbitrary string of characters, blah, blah, blah. And I am going to press enter now, and you'll see that now the console has output goodbye. And that is intuitive because the string of characters which we input does not equal the word hello, and so it jumps straight to the code after the colon in the else statement and prints goodbye. So what if we wanted to introduce another condition which states that goodbye should only be printed if goodbye is also written into the console? Now that leads us on nicely to ELIF statements. So let's go ahead and write our first ELIF statement. ELIF, and then comes the input, and if it's equal to the word goodbye, we want it to output or print the word goodbye. Goodbye. And let's say that if we don't input hello and don't input goodbye, the program says, I don't understand. Don't understand the input. Alright, so let's have a chat with our program and go ahead and execute it. Now, starting from the very easy hello example, we're going to write in hello into the console and press enter, and it gives us back hello. Now that is exactly what happened in the first example when we only had the if function, if statement. We wrote in hello, and this corresponds to the hello written here, so this statement is true, and so it executes the code that comes directly after the colon in the if statement. But what happens if we run it again and write goodbye? Goodbye. And press enter, and you'll see that once we've written goodbye, it jumps past the first if statement because this first condition is false, but the ELIF condition is in fact true because the goodbye that we passed into variable a corresponds exactly to the goodbye as it is written here. So it went on to print out goodbye. Now Python always starts in the first line and then goes line by line by line. So it always looks from top to bottom, right? So now if we go ahead and run it one last time and type in a arbitrary string of characters, such as blah 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 as we did before, you'll see that the first condition isn't met because it's not hello. The second condition in the ELIF isn't met because what we've written isn't goodbye, but the else condition will return the print, what is in the print function over here, which is I don't understand the input. So I'll go ahead and show you by pressing enter once again, and precisely it says it doesn't understand the input. Now before I go ahead and wrap this tutorial up, there's two more things that I'd like to mention. The first thing is that you can have a random amount of ELIF statements between the if and the else. So let's say you decided to add a second ELIF statement. Let's go ahead and say that if the input given by the user is good morning, then the console prints out good morning back to you. And just to show you that this works, I'm going to run this program and enter good morning, and you will see that when I hit enter and confirm the input, it is going to print back good morning to us. This is exactly because the good morning that we passed into variable a corresponds exactly to the good morning that is in our condition. The condition is true, and the ELIF prints the code which is written over here in the function print. Alright, the second thing that I also want to mention is that we've been using the equals condition throughout this tutorial. However, I just want to make really clear that you could also be using other types of conditions in here. Basically, any condition which returns either a true or a false value could have been used. Let me go ahead and show you that with an easy example. For example, if we say that if a is greater than 10, then I want to print, let's remain with hello. Now if the a is equal to, for example, 5, then I want to print goodbye. And if the input that we give does not fulfill either of these conditions, I want to print what is in the else statement, which is I don't understand the input, right? Alright, so now before we go ahead and run this program, we need to make sure to adjust the input. Because right now, the A is being assigned a string input. This is the data type string, which we mentioned in the first tutorial. However, we want to be passing in a number for this input, because as you see here, we're comparing a to another number. So it doesn't make sense to assign a textual data type. We need to assign it a number. So we're going to make this an integer, by placing around the int around the input. Alright, so let me go ahead and run this program now. And now it's going to ask for a user input, and we are going to input, let's say, the number 11. And I'm going to enter and confirm, and it prints out hello. That makes sense because the 11 which I have input into the console is greater than 10, right? And so the first statement is true, so it prints out hello. Let me go ahead and show you for another value. Let's run this program again and pass in the value 5. Now you will see that as soon as I confirm this, it prints out goodbye. And finally, let's place in a value which does not fulfill the first statement or the second statement. Let's say we place in the value 4, because it is neither equal to 5 nor is it greater than 10, so both these conditions will be false. Let's go ahead and enter, and you'll see it will output what we expect it to output. It will output the text, or better said, the code in the else statement. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for now. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you out, make sure to subscribe and put on the post notifications to stay updated on the newest videos that come out on this series. And yeah, see you in the next one.